the OTP. I'm Amie Wells, and I am joined by Taylor Zarzour. Taylor, I'm so excited to have you on the OTP.
Thank you, Amie.
Not only because you're here, and it's very exciting to have you in the studio doing the OTP. I know you're going to be here a lot of times this season.
Yes, ma'am.
But it is the first day of training camp. It's happening.
That is what it's all about. And there is a tremendous amount of enthusiasm around this facility right now. I think that there would be, because there's a lot of fresh faces here and it feels like the start of something special. But anytime it's the first day of training camp, people are going to be pumped. I know that's been the case for you for many years, but it especially was the case for me because it is my very first day of the first day of training camp.
It really is. Did it feel good to be out there? Did you feel like you fit in? Was it the first day of school?
I don't know if I fit in yet. I think people are still like, who's that new guy over there that's walking around just observing all parts of practice? And my name is Taylor, by the way. And by the way, I was wearing a name tag.
You were?
Yeah. I mean, I do have a name tag. I know you do
That's
too.
Great, yeah.
And you probably don't use this very often.
I don't.
Yeah. But
it's good that you do.
Because I felt like, you know what? People don't know who I am, so I'm going to wear this as much as possible the first few weeks. So, there's certainly, it's a transition to do this job, but it felt awesome. To answer your question, I've gone to some of the biggest sporting events and covered them on a national level in golf and in television with football, but to be the voice of a team at training camp was one of those pinch me moments, really, like on the field representing a team. That was high on my bucket list. I didn't know that I was ever going to be able to do it. I thought maybe that ship had sailed, but I sort of had an internal talk with myself for a moment there, like, how cool is this?
Well, Taylor, before we start talking about what happened today at your very first training camp, I feel like we should get you a button like at Disney World where it says, it's my first day.
I know that button.
I feel like we should get one for you. I want to talk about some news, some things that have been happening throughout the week leading up to training camp, just to make sure that the OT people are fully up to speed. So a couple things that happened as we were heading into camp. Femi Oladejo signed his rookie contract. Mm-hmm. This is great news for the Titans because we want him on the field. He's a rookie. We need to see him perform. But also, it kind of breaks this weird trend that we're seeing across the league of these second-round draft picks who aren't signing their contracts right away. And, of course, it's the Texans' fault. The Texans started this trend of giving their second-round draft pick guaranteed money. How do you think that's going to be impacting just training camps around the league?
Yeah, I think it is going to have an impact because you're going to hear a bunch of people in the ears of those draft picks talking about what they deserve and what they want, and they're going to try to prove their worth. And look, those people are wonderful people. I'm not here to bash on them as lots of others do, but I think because of that, it is going to become a thing. And even if the player thinks it's going to go smoothly, sometimes it isn't because they think you should be slotted here instead of slotted there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I do. I think that is – it's a possible distraction. It doesn't sound like it's a distraction here, though. It sounds like – knock on wood, that has gone very smoothly so far.
Yep, Femi Oladejo was on the field today. He looked great at practice. And it's also good that he is out there because the Titans had a player decide he was going to retire. Lorenzo Carter, the edge rusher, has decided that he is done playing in the National Football League. And it definitely leaves a hole on this Titans team. It leaves a place for some other people to step up and perform, which is great. But he's someone who's going to be missed. He was added in March, and he was a free agent that some people were really excited about. And so he's obviously making the decision that's best for himself and his family, and we respect that, and we wish him all the best going forward. But now there is a hole for someone to step in and really make an impact.
First of all, I've been calling SEC football games for a decade on SEC Network, and I have not gotten to a point yet where the players that I've called games have started retiring until now.
It's happening.
It's happening. They're retiring from professional football now. And Lorenzo Carter was only 8 years in the league. So it feels – I mean, he was kind of the same era as Jeff Simmons. Mm-hmm. When I was calling his games at Mississippi State, Lorenzo Carter was playing for Georgia. I think there's just a year separation there. And so it is kind of bizarre, at least to me, that, wow, his career's over. But, hey, listen, all respect to him. He felt like he was done, didn't want to do it anymore. And to your point, Amie, yes, it has opened a hole. I do think that the front office, Mike Borgonzi, Chad Brinker, and Brian Callahan all collectively want to see what they have from a pass rushing standpoint these next few weeks. And it wouldn't shock me if they try to bring in another pass rusher. Now, I think the other thing that they will be looking at is once we start getting to cuts in the next 6 weeks, who is out there and who is available. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's kind of one of the positions they jump on to try to find some more depth there at pass rusher. But, you know, I do think that the Titans, if you look around at different places, Draymond Jones is an established pass rusher for the Titans. I would expect Arden Key to really step up this year and make a step in the right direction for the Titans as well. But I think you're right. I think with Carter retiring, it does make you wonder, are they going to bring in some more fresh bodies?
It is interesting, too, because when it comes to kind of the waves of the acquisition period during the offseason, you've got the first round of free agency, obviously, and then the draft. And then you have this kind of post-draft second round of free agency. And then there's the little talked about third round of free agency that happens at the end of training camp.
Exactly.
The Titans, being at the very top of the waiver wire, are in a great position to kind of see what's happening around the league and make some of those acquisitions. It could be a potential spot where you see someone who has performed in the league for a while, who just for whatever reason, numerically or financially, didn't make a roster, but still a great player who could be added to the Titans. So that's a great point.
It is a good point by you to say that, because you don't want to be at the top of the waiver wire.
But when you are, you may as well use it.
Exactly right. Also, you may notice I'm using a cheat sheet here. This is my board. It's not. It'll be much bigger when it's in the booth when I'm calling Titans games. But it did warm my heart to see Coach Matt. I did make a couple of copies, and I should have given you one of these, by the way. And you can have one moving forward. But it does have the players laid out on my board the way that they compete on the field, which just makes it very easy to get to their name and their number. But it warmed my heart to see Rhett Bryan and Coach Mac Dave McGinnis both using their charts out there on the field today. So it was nice. I made them copies.
Yeah, that's great. That was so smart. I have my roster that is covered in coffee and Diet Coke and whatever else I've picked up on the field. I'm a little lo-fi when it comes to things like that. This summer, SeatGeek has your ticket to the best live concerts in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. SeatGeek has the best seat, your seat, for an unforgettable summer. From rock royalty to rap superstars, R&B to country, find it all on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Nissan Stadium. Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Now, back to the OTP. All right, other news before we get into the nitty-gritty of the day. L'Jarius Sneed and Lloyd Cushenberry are both starting training camp on the PUP list. Cushenberry's recovering from that Achilles injury. L'Jarius Sneed is still working to come back from that quad injury he suffered last season, and he had some work done on his knee, we found out the other day in a media availability. So where does that leave these two guys? Does that leave open spots for someone else to compete in, or do they feel like they're solidified enough on this team that we're just kind of waiting for them to get healthy?
Your questions are my questions right now, and I do wonder about Sneed and his future and when and if we're going to see him in a Titans uniform during the regular season. And I don't think that I'm speaking out of turn by saying I think Brian Callahan and the rest of the Titans front office would love to see Sneed on the field. He makes a significant difference in the secondary. I see a guy like Jarvis Brownlee Jr. stepping up and emerging in the secondary. He had a fantastic first practice, and he was fired up about it out there in training camp on day one. But he'd be a name I would watch, Amie, these next few weeks to see if he emerges as a frontline player for the Titans. But there's no question that Mike Borgonzi, who worked for the Kansas City Chiefs when L'Jarius Sneed was obviously one of the best cornerbacks in the league, the general manager now of the Titans, Borgonzi, would love to see his old player step up and get healthy and play. Now, as it relates to Cushenberry, I'm not as concerned about him as I am Snead. I think he's going to be back, and I think he's going to show you why he's one of the better centers in the National Football League. Now, certainly he needs to get in game shape, and we don't know exactly when we're going to see him out there practicing. I was really impressed with the pieces around center in practice, and Dan Moore at left tackle and J.C. Latham going over to right tackle are doing a great job on the edges, and I think that they will show how improved the Titans' offensive line is. But for the Titans to completely be whole on the offensive line, I do think they need a healthy Cushenberry. I do still think, Amy, they believe they're going to get that by the time Denver Broncos game rolls around.
The biggest news coming out this week was about quarterback Will Levis and that he's going to be having season-ending shoulder surgery. We've seen him battle this shoulder injury since the 2024 season. Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi said that he participated fully throughout the OTAs and minicamp and the entire offseason program. They knew this was a possibility. They knew that there was a chance that he might pursue having some sort of a procedure. They had conversations about it, so it wasn't a huge surprise. But it is a change-up from what everybody expected to see in the 2025 season.
I was surprised by it. I think a lot of us were with the timing of it. But I'll just use what Cam Ward said. Hey, listen, the guy decided that this is what's best for his career, and you have to respect that and wish him well and hope he's back here. Cam raved about the teammate that Will was throughout what you referenced with OTAs and minicamp and says, I hope he's back because he said, I love talking ball with Will Levis. So maybe we will see him around the Titans facility here at some point during this season. He is out in California now going through that process of having the surgery and rehabbing as well, but everybody wishes Will well, but it was at least a surprise to me with the timing. One thing that I would watch is Brandon Allen, who does have experience playing and working with Brian Callahan in a previous regime with a different organization, watching Allen try to help Cam Ward get ready to take all these first-team reps and get ready for the season. Ward already has referenced how much he loves watching Brandon Allen just be a pro, but Allen knows this offense, and I think that'll be that'll really serve Cam Ward well. I would give an example just in recent memory of another number one pick in the draft. The Carolina Panthers have Andy Dalton as their backup quarterback, and Bryce Young, I would bet, would tell you that if he got married tomorrow, that Andy Dalton would be the best man in his wedding. I mean, they have that kind of relationship. It would be great to see that happen with Cam Ward and Brandon Allen as this training camp goes on. That, hey, man, I've got this veteran that I can rely on that really helps me understand the offense. So don't be surprised if you see that. And Tim Boyle also is out there, too, as an extra body. You at least would like to have 3 guys, Amy, going through practice here in the next few weeks. I don't know that the Titans have plans to add a 4th quarterback, but it wouldn't shock me.
Day one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of energy on the field. We had the opportunity to talk to Chig Okonkwo about it, and here's what he had to say about the first day of training camp. Chig Okonkwo, this is not your first training camp, but it seems as though there's a little different vibe around camp this year. What are you noticing?
I mean, everybody's just excited. I think we all have like a different level of belief this year just from what we've seen in OTAs, and it just showed with how the guys, came to work, the first day, came in yesterday with our conditioning test, and then coming in today. I mean, Coach said we didn't have a single penalty all practice, so it's just like a different level of focus, man. We all know what we can accomplish this year, and we're just really excited, man.
I mean, it was maybe 15 minutes into practice that you started dancing. And we kind of saw that energy all throughout practice. Guys really seemed like they were feeling it and enjoying themselves, which is rare for training camp, given that it's so hot and it's a lot of work. Is that just another example of how excited everybody is?
No, literally, yeah. I mean, like, we all just, like, we've seen it now. So it's like, we all just know we have to just do what we need to do. So in 45 days, we can go to Denver and then do what we need to do there. So everyone's just really happy, man, about how things are going. It just feels better. It's a different vibe. I think part of it is mostly Cam, like, coming in and how he came in. And he's really just leading us, man, and taking us there.
What'd you spend this offseason working on?
Just pretty much all the same stuff I always do, just working on my craft. whether that be all the tight end stuff, just becoming a better tight end.
It feels like this tight ends group is kind of having a renaissance within this Titans offense. It seems like we're seeing more tight end involvement in a lot of different ways. Do you think that's because of the personnel that are in that room, this group of guys, or do you think that's maybe Nick Holtz and Brian Callahan and their style?
Yeah, I think it's really much just like a carryover of last year. I think we showed at the end of the year what we could do, so Callie just knows now, what this position needs to be involved in the offense, because we've seen what it is when we start getting the ball. All of our offense just kind of, shot up at the end of the year there. So he knows what it is, and that's why, we're just getting more opportunities.
That consistency from year one to year two has got to feel good, right?
Oh, it's the first time I've had the same offensive coordinator, in the league for the second year. So it is really nice to not to have to, relearn a whole system, have to, prove yourself over to a whole new coach. It's kind of, he just knows what you can do, and it's going to be done now.
Establishing a relationship with Cam Ward, is that a big goal for you throughout training camp?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's the guy, so just being able to have him trust me whenever he knows where I'm going to be, put the ball on me. We got a lot of work in the offseason together, too, so it's going to carry over here into training camp.
Hey, Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, the official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up. Home is the forefront of all we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans. Now, back to the OTP. All right, Taylor Zarzour, tell me what you saw out there on the first day of training camp. What are a couple things that maybe stuck out to you?
Okay, the first thing was that Cam Ward was warming up before they did 7-on-7 drills. Not just Cam, but Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle, too, were warming up with a bunch of staff members and Calvin Ridley. He was the only receiver that was warming up the quarterbacks. All the rest of the receivers were going through their drills in near their place on the field. The offensive line is on their place. The defensive line's in their place. The kicker and the punter and the long snapper are way over in a different field.
Barely on the property.
Yeah. Shout out to my man Morgan Cox, who's way over there. But Calvin Ridley was like, no, I'm warming up the quarterbacks. So that was kind of cool. I'd never seen that before, where just one receiver and a bunch of staff members were doing that. But Calvin, you can tell, it's like, I am building a relationship with Cam Ward, and it was happening even before they went through drills. When you watch them go through drills, one of the neatest things to see is just how the speed of the game doesn't seem to impact Cam Ward that much. He did this. If you go back and you watch him at Washington State or Miami, he goes through his progressions, Amie, so well. Typically, when the first read is not open for a guy that is in his first year in a system, whether it's college or pro, they panic a little bit when that first read's not open. A lot of times they take off or they force the ball somewhere that shouldn't. Cam Ward, if possible, might be better on his second read than he is on his first. And you saw that a lot at practice. One of the things that really stood out to me was Alec Manor. Get ready for this guy. He is 6'2". He's over 200 pounds. He is a big, physical-looking receiver. He looks bigger, at least than I thought. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've gone through this a million times where you've been out there and you were like, God, that guy is bigger than I thought. Mm-hmm. Manor was one of those guys for me, and fast, too. He would come in motion several times, and he'd block for Spears or Pollard in front of them to open up a hole. I think he has a chance to quickly emerge as a playmaker for the Titans. So that's offensively. Defensively, the guy that I really was impressed by was Jarvis Brownlee Jr. in the secondary. It's just his second year, and he batted, he deflected, defended several passes. He had one big deflection when Treylon Burks was going down the sideline, and he defended the ball and broke up a would-be catch from Cam Ward to Treylon Burks. He had a really good practice. They need one of their young corners to emerge, and he did in day one.
It's interesting you mention Alec Manor and the way that he physically looks.
Yeah.
I was taken back by just the physical kind of build of this Titans team as a whole. Mm-hmm. There are so many guys who it is very clear spent these last 6 weeks really leaning into the programs that they have been given by this team's strength and conditioning team, the team, just doctors and trainers, the nutrition staff, all of these people who are helping these guys really get their body composition at just tip-top shape across the board. Position group be damned. They all look like professional athletes. I mean, they all look big and built. And I mean, from guys like Jeffrey Simmons, who lost some weight, and JC Latham, who have kind of trimmed their body down, to guys who have bulked up a little bit, like a Traylon Burks or like a Mason Kinsey. They're all guys who just came back looking like, and I say a professional football team, they always were professional athletes. They always look like professional athletes, but like more like the video game version of professional athletes, you know, like what's in your brain. And I mean it in the best possible way. I was taken back by how just like fit this team looks.
You noticed a difference from last year?
I noticed a difference from last year. I noticed a difference even from like the off-season program in some of these guys. Everyone looked like they were in great shape. And that is something that typically you're just kind of like, everybody passed the conditioning test. They're always good to go. I could see it with my eyes, and I noticed the difference.
And I noticed that Mason Kinsey doesn't like to wear a shirt.
Mason Kinsey never wears a shirt.
And he was disrupting one of your interviews that you were doing. But he's yes, you're right. The team is in fantastic shape. And you referenced the first guy I was going to mention, Jeff Simmons, where you really noticed a difference with him. And he's already one of the best interior defensive linemen in the National Football League. But, man alive, does he look fit coming into the season. He said about 10, 15 pounds lighter. You know, he's around 305 going into the season. And somebody said, did you lose any strength? And he was really quick to cut him off. He was like, I didn't lose any strength. Come on. He's very quick to point out. And he was fascinating just listening to him. I know a lot of us have thought about this in recent years, just like about our blood type and about, you know, what – foods that our body interacts well with. And Jeff went on at length about that, and just like he was like kind of stunned by some of the things that cause inflammation in his body. And this offseason he spent a lot of time thinking about that, and you can tell that Chad Brinker is behind a lot of that. He's been talking a lot about that in the last couple of months and getting the team in the right kind of shape to endure a long season, especially when you have a young team that is trying to learn what it's like to play 17 games over the course of 18 weeks and try and make the playoffs and still be in good physical condition. You see so many teams, Amie, that are beat up by the time you get to December and into January now. That obviously is a main focus for the Titans, is they want to peak later in the year. They want to make sure their bodies are prepared for the long haul, and that's an emphasis that starts at the top.
Who are you going to be watching as training camp kind of goes on? Is there a player or two where you're like, that guy, I'm going to watch that guy? Yeah,
I love that you asked that question, because my mind wanders to a bunch of different spots as I look all over the field. But I think it's obvious, because I think almost all of us are looking at number one, and I watched a lot of Cam Ward in the first day, and I watched him in OTAs, and certainly that's where it starts. But I know that everybody is wondering about different things. The guy that I'm watching the most, probably outside of Ward, is Tyjae Spears, because, look, all Titans fans know this. He will go down, I really think, bordering on one of the 5 greatest running backs of all time in the National Football League, in Derrick Henry. I mean, do you think that's unfair? I mean, you covered him.
I do not think that's unfair.
And the guy still is going to have a chance to run for another couple thousand yards in 2025. When that guy leaves the team, okay, that's a massive loss. That's a huge transition. And look, I thought Tony Pollard had a good year in 2024. Absolutely. But in order to, I don't know if replicate's the right word, but in order to have one of the more successful ground games in the NFL, which is what the Tennessee Titans still want to have, Tyjae Spears has to be that 1B or 1-2, the 2 to the 1. He's got to be part of that punch. And Spears had an electric practice, I think, in the first day of training camp. And you can tell that Brian Callahan is calling his number as much as he can to see what he's getting out of him. You know you can run between the tackles with Pollard. Can you get Spears around the edge? Can you get him the ball? Can you throw bubbles to him? Because the guy can fly. And if they can have him emerge as the other part of that piece in the backfield, then for all of the talk about wide receiver, which is, listen, I get all the focus on that. But if all of a sudden one of your best receivers actually happens to be in the backfield with you, that could turn into a big coup for Cam Ward. So Spears is my guy. What about you? Do you have one?
That's a great guy. Mine's on the opposite side of the ball. I'm really going to be watching a lot of the linebackers, and Cedric Gray is someone that I'm really excited about watching. We didn't get to see a lot of him in his rookie year, battling back from injury, only kind of got to see him late. But I was so excited about watching him play. So now I'm excited to see when he's healthy, what he's really able to do, starting from the beginning and coming all the way through. So that's my guy.
This used to be called Tar Heel Blue, where
right.
I came at least close to it.
It is close.
And Gray, of course, is a Tar Heel and had a great collegiate career.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about watching where he's able to find himself within the lineup when he has a complete offseason. And I'm also just interested in that linebackers group to begin with.
Yeah.
Cody Barton was a great offseason addition, but there's still a lot of question marks within that group. So just overall, what's happening with that linebacker squad? How are they all going to kind of shake up and line up? I'm excited to watch that group. So you'll see me on the defensive fields a lot throughout training camp.
I love it. Cody Barton blew up a play in the backfield on day one of training camp, so he's immediately making an impact back there.
And he's just a cool guy. That's what I'm here for. I'm for the cool guy. The guy's got horses. I think that's neat. All right, so Taylor Zarzour, you coming back for day 2?
Yes.
You still going to be around?
I might sleep here tonight.
There's couches in here.
I do. This is an honor to be here with you and to be here with our Titans team. We have so much great coverage that you're leading the way with on a daily basis. We're going to go into the stadium on Saturday for Back Together Saturday, which will be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait for that. And obviously, next 10 days or so are going to be fun. But I'm already talking to some of these players about going to Tampa and then going to Atlanta after that. It's interesting what Coach Callahan said, Amie, about how really the big difference from year 1 to year 2 in training camp are the road trips and going and taking this team on the road and staying together for 10 straight days. And, in the old days, you went to a dorm and you kind of got to do that in training camp. That's really their dorm experience is through, I think it's August the 6th, through the following Saturday night, which is a 10, 11-day period, the Titans are going to be together on the road. And I think they will come out of that a really close team.
Yeah, I think you're right. Speaking of Back Together Saturday, which you mentioned, if you, the OT people, want to come out and hang out with us at
please.
Nissan Stadium, Saturday, July 26th. There are tickets online, so just head to TennesseeTitans.com and you can claim your ticket. It's free. It costs you $0, but you do have to claim a ticket. We want to know you're coming, so we know you have like a seat and a spot and all that stuff. But anyway, 10 a.m. is when gates open for that at Nissan Stadium. Practice will start at 11. I will be there. TZ will be there. The whole Titans radio crew is going to be there, just doing all kinds of fun things. But there will also be players, and there will be cheerleaders, and the drum line will be there. Everything's going to be happening at Nissan Stadium this Saturday, July 26th. So be sure you're there. TennesseeTitans.com to claim those tickets.
Love it.
Love it. All right, Taylor, on to day 2.
Let's do it, Amie.
All right, let's do it. For Taylor Zarzour, I'm Amie Wells, and this has been the OTP.